And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Not a Hockey Market podcast. How you guys doing today? I am your host, JDM or George DeMoya. Welcome to the East Gauntlet preview show here as we're talking about the East Division as hockey season's just right around the fucking corner. I'm so excited. Excuse my language. Actually, no, I'm not going to excuse my language. Hello, it's called hockey. I'm stoked to be here. I got a little bit of a new setup here at the office, so really thrilled with that. But before we go any further and start talking about the East preview, first off, what we definitely have to say is that Not a Hockey Market podcast is a proud member of Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network has over 19 independent podcast members across all genres of podcasting. So go and find PCN on all of the major social media platforms on Facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @Podcast City Net. Under the YouTube channel, just search keyword Podcast City Network and also their website, podcastcity.net. And you can find anything and everything Podcast City Network. Proud to be a member of them. Be sure to look out for the final score, the full show, a full NHL preview show over on Final Score. Just search PCN Final Score. That should be pretty much launching pretty soon with myself and my buddy that interviewed me over there, Mr. Craig, a unfortunately Detroit Red Wings fan, but we moved past that, right, buddy? We moved past that. So here we are with the Not a Hockey Market podcast, and I am thrilled to be here because I'm get to talk hockey with you guys, and we're going to break down the East Division right now. And what we're looking at in the East Division is one hell of a freaking lineup, okay? This is the toughest division in hockey right now, as they have, the New Jersey Devils, you got the Philadelphia Flyers, you got the Buffalo Sabres, the Rangers and the Islanders, the Boston Bruins, the Penguins, and the Washington Capitals. And what we definitely want to do for you today is kind of break down a little bit about what each team looks like, what each team is going through, and what each team is dealing with. And I don't know how I'm gonna just throw some darts out here, and let's go all the way to New York. And let's break down the New York Islanders first off. So the New York Islanders are definitely going to be supported tremendously by the massive system that they have in place with Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz and that system over there on the aisle, they clog up the neutral zone. They really just they know how to play defense first, which is just a huge big deal. And then on top of that, you have a very, very dynamic player in Matthew Barzal, who, interestingly enough, has yet to be signed. I'm looking around here through Twitter and through NHL and TSN to see if he has signed yet. And so far, no go, no butts, no coconuts. He has not signed. That is a huge surprise, and that would be a huge blow. Obviously, the New York Islanders, with their roster that they have, it makes it very difficult for them to make a signing. They had to get rid of a very top defenseman in Devon Toews. Unfortunately, he had to go off to greener pastures, as they say. But you got to find a way to sign this guy. I don't know how you don't freaking sign this guy, man. He is such a huge piece of that roster. He is that roster when you really think about it. There's no other way to put it. He really is he is that important of a piece to the New York Islanders. Now you do have an excellent, defensive pairings back there. I mean, you are talking about some hell of a defenseman. You have some young defensemen also. A Noah Dobson. A first round pick, 12th overall, could he really make an impact? You know, is he ready to kind of step up and step in? Adam Pelch, Ryan Polak, and a lot of shutdown guys, Scott Mayfield, Nick Leddy. Their D core is extremely good, and they're going to be led by Varlamov and Sorokin. They lost Thomas Grice in the offseason as well, but they go ahead and they bring in, I don't know, another Russian like Sorokin. So you got back-to-back Russians over there, and you have a great Russian duo in goal. Plus, they did re-sign Matt Martin to a nice little 4-year deal, so that fourth line stays intact. And, they got this trade from last year that I really think is going to take even a bigger step up during the season versus in the postseason, and that is Jean-Gabriel Pageau. He was on fire with the Ottawa Senators last year, went over to the Isle, got a little bit lost, not too much. He is going to be a huge, huge, huge piece for them. The other team that I want to definitely look into now, as we shift over to the Brooklyn side, is the New York Rangers. So we're looking at the New York Rangers right now, and you're talking about Artemi Panarin, you're talking about Mika Zibanejad, who they were the third top scoring duo in the NHL. Just in front of them were, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak. I mean, you can't expect any more from that kind of a duo. They're going to light this league on fire. There could be a little bit of a setback, though, because people are expecting that now. They're expecting Panarin and Zibanejad to be their top guys. Defenses and strategies are going to key in on them, take away their space. So I don't expect them to be that huge this year. And I actually have the Islanders and the Rangers are kind of battling for that fourth spot in the playoffs. They are on my list in the 4-5 range, and they are definitely going to be the two teams to watch to see who ends up battling over there on the Isle. It'll be either the Rangers or the Islanders for sure. It'll be one of those two teams in the fourth spot. And unfortunately, that means I got to break it to my buddy Chris Wilson over on the Final Score and Podcast City Network and say, buddy, your Flyers aren't going to make it. The Philadelphia Flyers, let's take a brief little intro into them as we go into our third team here in the East Division Gauntlet preview. So the Flyers have a very, very young defensive core, and that is what my biggest fear with them is. You're talking about Ivan Provorov. He is going to be a absolute beast of a player. And he did come onto the scene a little bit last season. And the Flyers, with Carter Hart in net, have one of the most promising young goaltenders in the league. And man, did they produce last year. They really did. And I just feel like, unfortunately, this division is going to be extremely tough. It is the hardest division in the league. And I just think they might take a little bit of a step back this season. If they do not play the way they can play from jump, meaning you're talking about, which something that was mentioned on the big preview show later, 115 days, 56 games. Hockey every single day. They cannot have a slump. Kevin Hayes, Travis Konecny, Claude Giroux, Sean Couturier, their top 6 forwards that are in the mix, Jacob Voracek, they all had mini slumps last season. And you really can't do that. You have to be consistent all year. If you miss or have a slump a couple times and go through a tough week, you could go from being in the top 4 to being completely out of it. So you got to make sure that you stay in it as much as you possibly can. And, some young defensemen like Robert Hagg, like Samuel Morin. Ivan Provorov is also a young defenseman, but he will be their leader along with Justin Braun. on the back end, but I just think that it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for the Flyers to really break through this particular season. So broke down a few of those teams already of our East preview, and we want to go ahead and take a quick moment to go ahead and stop and let you guys know to please follow us on our social media channels on IG at 90 Miles Media, also at Couch Dads Podcast, at Podcast City Net, and at PCN Final Score. You can also find us on Facebook, which was where this video will definitely play. It'll be on at 90 Miles Media and also at Podcast City Network. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just do a little search for 90 Miles Media, and that's where you'll find Not a Hockey Market Podcast. And you'll also find all your 90 Mile Media needs. Also, be sure to subscribe to the PCN Final Score, as I will be one of the co-hosts this upcoming Sunday, where we'll get to talk about the wild card weekend, NFL playoffs, a little bit of hockey because I always throw that in there, and college football and the national championship game. Go there. Subscribe to PCN Final Score on YouTube to get all your sports needs. Get the best hot takes that you can possibly think of, right? All right, so moving right along as we continue to talk about our East Gauntlet preview. Excuse me. Next team that we definitely want to go ahead and break down here real quick in the East. So we talked to the Islands over at the Isle. We talked about the Islanders. We talked about the Rangers and the Flyers. Next up, I feel bad for these two teams right now being shoved into the East Division. I feel like both teams would have a much better draw if they were in the Central or anywhere else, and that is the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres. This is a tough one. For the New Jersey Devils, you're already talking about a 1-2 punch that is extremely young in Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes. And Nico is coming into training camp already kind of hurt and banged up. He will be ready by for the beginning of the season, but it is possible that he might be a little bit banged up. And that's always tough when you're missing some time at the start of the season, especially a very short season. The Devils definitely are going to need some help on the back end. They are currently not really sure what they're going to do. They got some young players coming in, like a Pavel Zacha. Is he going to make another step up? He is a big power forward from the Czech Republic. I really do believe that he can bring something to the table. Sorry about that. As I'm doing this recording, I get like some random messages, because dad life kicks in. So sorry for the interruption there, guys. As we get back to it, the Buffalo Sabres is another team that I'm looking at, and I just do we feel bad for the Buffalo Sabres or what? Fuck, man, they just got a bad draw here. The Buffalo Sabres with Hall and Eichel. They signed Taylor Hall, dynamic left winger, and they have Jack Eichel, who is just fucking fed up with losing. And they're going to have another season that's very similar to that. Yes, they have some good pieces in Jeff Skinner, and now they added Taylor Hall, but their goaltending is just too big of an issue. Their defense is too big of an issue. Jack Eichel is a phenomenal electric player on the power play, up front offensively, but he's not as much as a two-way guy as other centers are these days, like a Barkov, like Sean Couturier or Patrice Bergeron, and that is where he needs the help. He can't be just the guy. He needs the extra help. for that particular team. And so Buffalo, unfortunately, I I see them struggling quite a bit. I think that Eichel and Hall could be one of those duos that is in the top 5 in points. But turns out it's just going to be racking up a bunch of points, and that's it. I don't see the Sabres returning to the playoffs. So, unfortunately for the Sabres and for the New Jersey Devils, sorry to a buddy of mine who's a big Devils fan, I don't see them going any further than that. This is definitely one of the it's a gauntlet, man. This East Division is just absolutely disgusting. It's the toughest division there. And there's a particular team that I want to talk about next in this division. And they've been getting just absolutely blasted everywhere. They've been told, hey, you know what? You guys aren't even going to make the playoffs. And that's the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I hate to break this to you, hockey fans, but stop talking shit about the Pittsburgh Penguins because Crosby can fucking hear you. And if he hears you, he's going to get pissed. And I think he's pissed. And I like this roster. I really do. Tristan Jarry on the back end, he's going to be the number one guy. There's no longer that back and forth. Is it Jarry or is it Murray? No, it's Jarry. It is all Jarry. And then you throw in Malkin and Crosby are hearing everybody talk about how that this team is in danger of missing the playoffs. And Sidney Crosby is going to put together himself one heck of a season. They added some excellent speed in Kasperi Kapanen, who they picked up from Toronto, and Jared McCann, who they picked up a couple years ago from the Florida Panthers. Brian Rust, expect him to come back and have a good year. You also have Jason Zucker to round up that top 6. You got strong defensemen, and you have some puck-moving defensemen. Mike Matheson was the bane of my existence as a Florida Panthers fan. Watch, he goes to Pittsburgh and decides to play extremely well. And I expect Crosby to have himself a nice little year. He is healthy, and he is ready, and he is pissed off that everybody is saying that Pittsburgh is in danger of not making the top 4 and missing the playoffs. He's heard you. He's not happy about it. I have a feeling that he comes in and has himself one hell of a year. So I definitely have Pittsburgh in the playoffs as one of my top teams. I have them currently ranked at 2, as Crosby and Malkin definitely get back on track, and Jarry stands on his head as a number 1 goalie and really shows off his skills. To round up these top 3 teams, I do have the Boston Bruins at 3. And it comes down to Tuukka Rask. It will be back in goal, and he is going to have himself a Vezina season trophy kind of season. And if he doesn't, then yes, I'd say that the Bruins could be in danger of missing the playoffs, but they were also President's Trophy winner last year. They do lose David Pastrnak, and he's not available until February, but that's not as big as a loss as a team like the Dallas Stars that are going to be without Sagan and Bishop for multiple months. Whereas I do expect David Pastrnak to come back. You also add in the fact that Bergeron will be in. Marchand has joined training camp. You do have some young forwards that are looking to take another step up. You do have, your Charlie Coyle, relatively young Charlie Coyle, but he is going to be difficult to play against. Jake DeBrusk, could he take another step up in his career? He's had a few excellent seasons. Andre Case is another one that I really, really love his shot. The young right winger from the Czech Republic, and under the tutelage of a David Krejci, who had himself a very good year. They are just very deep of a team. And on the back end, you do lose Torrey Krug, and you're rolling with Charlie McAvoy, and you lost Torrey Krug, you lost Zdeno Chara. How big of a miss is Chara going to be? I know what they're thinking. Boston is thinking, well, we need to bring in some of these young defensemen. You have another Czech. Man, Czech just keeps pumping out players everywhere, huh? Jakub Zorbo, he was a first-round pick a few years back from the Czech Republic. Big defenseman, 6 foot, 200 pounds, can move the puck, has a great shot. A Finnish defenseman, Vakalainen, or I can't pronounce it. Ask the guys over at Barstool or some shit if they can pronounce that guy's name. I can't. John Moore is back there. Brandon Carlo is also back there. I mean, are these guys going to be enough? They're going to have to find a way to substitute 18 to 20 minutes of ice time from Zdeno Chara. Sure, Chara would get burned by some of these young, fast guys, but he took up so much damn space out there and was excellent on the penalty kill and made Boston hard to play against. And you have a team that is hard to play against that has firepower on the other end that can, like Marchand and Pastrnak, that's a winning recipe for the playoffs. That's an absolute winning recipe for the playoffs. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with Boston. Losing Chara, I think, is just, it might be too big of a hit, guys. It might be too big of a hit. And as we move into our final team here with the East Division Gauntlet, I'm going to throw up the next graphic of what my predictions are. These are my playoff predictions, my standing predictions. And as you can see, they're scrolling along. At number 1, I have the Washington Capitals, who, I don't know, what did they do? They went out and they signed Zdeno Chara for a more expanded role. He is going to be a tremendous shutdown talent against Crosby, against Bergeron, against Barzell, against Panarin, against Giroux, against Eichel. I mean, you're going to need that in this division. You're going to have every single fucking, uber talented duos, offensive duos in the NHL coming at you. So you're going to need somebody out there to make it difficult for them. And Chara believes he has a lot more in the tank. I don't know if you've ever seen this dude work out. He definitely has a lot more in the tank, I think, as well. And I think it's an underrated pickup by the Capitals. And I think they're going to love that pickup. Then you add probably one of the best top sixes in the NHL. You're looking at Ovechkin, Oshie, Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Jacob Verana, and Tom Wilson. It's a hell of a top 6. You're putting players like Connor Shuri and Eller over on the third line with Panic. And Peter Laviolette is an excellent head coach for this squad. John Carlson on the back end, he could be a Norris Trophy candidate this year. Mainly because let's face it, the Norris Trophy tends to favor points over anything else. The biggest question is going to be Ilya Samsonov. The young Russian goalie had Holtby backing him up, or he was backing up Holtby for a long, long time. This kind of feels like a Tampa Bay situation, though. And I've mentioned it before, where Ben Bishop was the starting goalie. Vasilevsky was behind him. Bishop gets moved on. In comes the emergence of Vasilevsky. And, I don't know, what did the Tampa Bay Lightning do? They just won a cup. This feels eerily familiar. And it's 2 different Russians. So you're going to have, you ship off Holtby. He goes to Vancouver. Ilya Samsonov comes up, and it's going to be the emergence of this kid. Another Russian goaltender that is going to, I think, have his struggles. But when you have so much firepower in front of you, you give up a couple goals a game, 2 to 3 goals a game, you're still in a good position to win because these guys are going to score 4 to 5 a game. And it just that's how I see it. I really do like the Washington Capitals in this division. I'm not sure who comes out with it. I've said the Washington Capitals before. It could really be anybody in the top 4, but this is definitely the hardest division that you will find. There is no question about that. That is what I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen, for your East Division Gauntlet. I have the Washington Capitals, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Boston Bruins, and the Islanders or Rangers in that 4-5 spot. As remember, only 4 teams will move on after 115 days of straight fucking hockey. That's my analysis for this particular division. I hope you all enjoyed that. I definitely am going to be back again with 2 more shows before the start of the season, and we're going to talk about the other 2 divisions. We're going to talk about the West, and we're going to talk about that Central Division. Before we move on, just a few more NHL news. Congratulations to the World Juniors USA team. And what a big day it was for Trevor Zegras, top prospect from the Anaheim Ducks. He tied the record for most points in a World Juniors tournament in very few games. Very, very less games than before. Big congrats to him, and also big congrats to Spencer Knight, who is a Florida Panthers goalie prospect. As a matter of fact, you had 2 Florida Panthers goalie prospects on either side. Spencer Knight for USA, Levi for Canada. Spencer a first-round pick, Levi a 7th-round pick. Future looks very bright there in goal, especially for my Florida Panthers down south. Can't go wrong there, that's for sure. And what a phenomenal win for the World Juniors and for the USA team to win 2-0 over Canada after Canada was outscoring teams 41-4, 5, something crazy like that. But the Team USA was able to come away with a big win. Just wanted to give you guys a quick heads up as we wrap up today's show. As you know, the show is sponsored by Podcast City, where Podcast City, guess what? They offer an array of membership services, including logo design, branding, social media advertising, live podcast hosting, and much, much more. Hosting. Damn, butchered the shit out of that. You also gain access to their network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guests, and overall reach while becoming a part of our ever-expanding PCN community, just like Not a Hockey Market podcast. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest group of independent podcasters around. So thank you very much for coming on the show today, or for tuning in. Coming on the show. You guys aren't even here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to follow us and subscribe to all of our channels. There they are again as they roll across the screen. This is a Not a Hockey Market podcast, where what we do is very simple. We are out to prove that we're in those areas that are claimed to be not a hockey market. We call bullshit. There are definitely hockey markets everywhere. Hockey is for everyone, where we focus on the NHL with a little bit of hyper focus on those NHL cities that are claimed not to be a hockey market. We call bullshit. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels and subscribe to our YouTube at 90 Miles Media and at Podcast City Network. That's it for me for today. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again very soon, coming up with a West and Central Division preview. Cheers.